This video is for you, the parent who is experiencing rejection from a child and that child's alignment with the other parent. Now, the other parent is freely and persistently sharing their biased version of the truth with your child, heroically professing to the children that they should know the truth of it all, which is really just an excuse for the other parent to persistently express their perspective of how bad you are. What's happening is you are being demonized through their behaviors and actions with your child. The other parent is inciting fear, hatred, or anger in your child towards you that is totally out of proportion to the life that your child has had with you. Now, the other parent might require your child to refer to you by your first name rather than mom or dad. The other parent refuses or fails to co-parent with you, and instead they will go directly to your child for parental matters. And sometimes they will use their child to gather private information for them about you. The other parent involves your child in the parental conflict, like discussing divorce or discussing court details with the child. In other words, the other parent over-involves your child with adult information. The other parent undermines your parental authority or withholds important information about your child from you. The other parent refuses to follow court orders. The other parent encourages your child to change their residence away from you and towards them. The other parent gatekeeps or interferes with your contact with your child, cowardly blaming the refusal of your child to see you on them, or they might falsely allege abuse. The other parent and your child are closely aligned, and your child's story sounds an awful lot like the other parent's beliefs about you. In summary, if the other parent is choosing an action or inaction that has a direct negative effect on your relationship with your child, there's a good chance it's an alienating behavior. Now, note that if you actually abused or neglected your child, this is not for you. But often the other parent and the child will make false allegations of abuse against a rejected parent. Does any of this sound familiar? Are you struggling with the deterioration of a relationship with your child, and the other parent is the primary driving force behind that relationship failure? Fortunately and unfortunately, you are not alone in this. This is happening to thousands of families across the country and the world. 50% of first marriages end in divorce, and some studies indicate that parental alienation is prevalent in somewhere between 25 to 40% of these studies. And in one study, up to 27% of children had a strong alignment with one parent and rejection of the other parent. Now, the obvious option to this is to go to court. I'm making this video because I've lived it for 20 years and I had no idea how to handle it. And I'm guessing you don't know how to handle the parental alienation either. Now, in the early to mid stages of parental alienation, my primary strategy was to ignore it and hope it went away. Well, that didn't work. And it seems the only recourse a parent has is to take the other parent back to court. But in the world of the family court system, my recommendation is to do everything you can to stay far away from family court. The court process seems to provide an expert around every corner who is more than willing to take lots of your money to solve the problem. Many attorneys advertise their expertise in dealing with parental alienation, and they may even stir up the feelings of injustice inside of you. And that pushes alienated parents to believe that there can be justice if they just push hard enough. Now, I'm not saying attorneys can't be helpful, because they certainly can, and they can potentially provide the help in these situations that you need. But if you choose to proceed forward, do so with extreme caution, because the path through court when fighting parental alienation reaps the most benefits by far in the attorney's personal bank account. Court orders and hearings, court order therapy, custody evaluations, and everything else won't undo the terrible situation with your child. The problem is that these archaic systems like court order therapy have very high failure rates. The failure being that the child and the alienated parent do not successfully reunite. In most cases, especially with teens. Also, judges are given very high flexibility with their rulings, so by and large, the judge rarely holds the violator accountable, even when the other parent is violating the court order. So now what you have is you have the court enabling their bad behaviors to persist. But in other areas of law, a violator would receive a consequence or a punishment. I mean what I say from hard experience. You can have the best case and still come up empty-handed with no improvement in the relationship with your child. Now, I can empathize with you and talk all day about how unfair this crappy situation is. But if I just stir you up to be hurt, sad, and angry, that will only lead to a feeling of you needing to find justice, which would be financially and emotionally costly. It is important to me that I share my experience and my knowledge because I want you to know a real live outcome. I want you to know what I think works and doesn't. I want you to know as many pitfalls as I can expose. And I want to talk about the hard stuff. Then I want to walk with you to a place with different possibilities, with realistic solutions that put the focus back on you and your child. And I want you to keep your hard-earned money in your bank account. And finally, just like you, I want to learn more about effective strategies and methods to stopping this evil against our children. It matters because alienated children are suffering. And sometimes they're losing their lives because the pain of cutting off a loving parent is so difficult. This matters because parents are losing their children and sometimes their lives because the pain of losing a child is so difficult. Families are suffering. They remain broken and brokenhearted because they don't understand what happened and they don't understand how to overcome it. This is my desire, that we expand our learning and our skills to fight back so that no more children are lost to parental alienation. I am not an attorney. I am not a therapist. I have no certificate or degree or license that makes me any kind of expert. But what I do have is I have a family that has been torn apart by parental alienation. And I have gone through the thick of it. I've been divorced. I've had a co-parent who made those decisions that harmed my children. I've been through court a lot. And the rulings that I got in the process were not only inadequate, they were contributory to enabling the alienation to continue. I have spent money on attorneys, court-ordered therapists, guardians, specialists, and none of it worked because I was chasing the wrong path. But what I want is to walk with you and to learn with you and to find skills and strategies with you that will help us when we face these really challenging situations that cause our children and our families harm.